Radhe Radhe everyone. Good morning and good evening, wherever you're joining from. Welcome to another session of Bhagavad Gita. Today we will be covering Shloka 6.22 and 6.23. For those who have joined us after a long time, a gentle reminder that we are doing chapter 6 Dhyana Yoga. And let's begin with invocations. Anyone wants to take up the prayers, please let me know.
You can do it. I guess we can just do it
Okay.
from our.
Yeah, okay. Then I'll start. गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः वसुदेवासुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Okay. So a quick recap on chapter 6, what we had so far. So Krishna has emphasized enough on the Dhyana Yoga, on the meditation, and how essential it is in our spiritual journey. How meditation, we have also seen how meditation can help even in our Karma Yoga. It helps us to have our mind control and what are the benefits it brings. So, meditation, it's just a means to internalize the knowledge of the eternal essence. We've also covered this. So, what are the few key points for a meditator that we have covered so far that Lord Sri Krishna has told us? Sri Krishna tells us about the vision of meditator, how a meditator looks at the world. So, he says that the meditator views all objects, people, and situations with equanimity. He does not see them as different than himself. In other words, he sees his self in all beings and all beings in his self. Uh, yeah, we've covered this in great depth. We know who the self is, the Atman, and we have spoken about the Paramatma residing in the Atma. And we know that it is the same Paramatma residing in each soul. And that's how the meditator sees all of them as part and parcel of God. Then, what are the prerequisites of meditation? So, Krishna urges to give up all the selfish desires through Karma Yoga. And unless the mind is purified of selfish desires, for the most part, it will not be able to meditate properly. Use intellect to control the lower mind self. And here we discuss a few aspects like yoga rudaha, yoga rukshaha. For a beginner, you have to aspire practice karma yoga, and once you say that I have perfected karma yoga, and that's when you can say that you could be practice. You're automatically in the aspect of the dhyana yoga, and you are situated there, and you could observe yourself as a witness from that perspective. You get deeper into your dhyana yoga at that point of time. But the main prerequisite is you have to renounce all your selfish desires. And if the mind is obsessed with your desires, it will not let you to meditate on God or anything else. So that's the prerequisite. And next, Krishna also talks about the technique, how you can achieve this. He talks about the place, he talks about the posture, and he talks about how we need to do it. The technique involved focus on one spot, keep your spine erect, have your focus on single pointed attention, and let not the mind waver like a candle. And he also told on the object of dedication, he told, meditate upon me. So he said that the object of meditation should be something that we hold as supreme and dear. And next, Krishna, through the next shlokas, Krishna has also spoken about the process, and he told he has suggested the seeker to have a moderate lifestyle, should not go overboard in eating, sleeping, and indulging in sense objects or sense pleasures. And gradual withdrawal from the outside world is suggested. And but again, warning that this is not the sannyasa which many people mistake to be, but it's letting your mind settle in the eternal essence. And he has also conveyed a message of the self, settling into the self. Uh, this was chapter 6 at a glance, what I've discussed so far. Next, coming specifically to 6.20 and 6.21, which Pratishaji has explained in detail in the last two sessions. So basically 6.22 and 6.23 are a continuation. All the four shlokas fall together in a group. So a quick recap of 6.20. So in 6.20, Krishna says that when the mind restrains from material activities and it becomes still by practice of yoga, and through that stillness, he'll be able to have a vision. He'll be able to clearly see the soul through the purified mind, and he rejoices the inner joy. And here Pratyusha ji has spoken about the state called samadhi, a gentle reminder, and the different types of joy which we can experience, and the highest one being the uh, Brahmananda, uh, sorry, Premananda. And uh, we've covered extensively last time as to what is inner joy is, what are the symptoms. Uh, so surely I have not reached the state, so I'll not be able to tell it from my experience, but I can at least tell it from what I've read and from what I've heard from saints, gurus, and from the scriptures and books. With a very limited perspective from what I understood, by the way, not that I understood them well. And again, in 6.21, Sri Krishna, he says that what happens when he acquires that bliss. He says that having attained that supreme transcendental bliss, his discrimination remains fully awakened and established, and he never moves away from reality. So discrimination is an attribute of the intellect. So here Krishna is saying that his intellect is very strong now. And what is an other use of the intellect? The intellect controls the mind. We saw in the chariot hierarchy that how intellect lies above the mind and intellect controls the mind. So the mind control is already achieved for the one who has attained this transcendental bliss. But the mind control is just as, like a salad or something extra which comes, and the main course being the bliss and the joy which he is in. And the yogi never moves away from reality, from this tattva. So the yogi, he remains unshakable and permanent. More into the unshakable and permanent part in Shloka 6.22 and 6.23. So we will begin by reciting Shloka 6.22. Uh, anyone interested with 6.22 in the recitation, please have your hands raised. We have another shloka 6.23. So if anyone else is interested, you could have your hand raised in the meantime. Sandhya ji, please go ahead.
यं लब्धा चापरं लाभं मन्यते नाधिकं ततः यस्मिन् स्थितो न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचालयेत्.
Anyone else wants to recite this shloka? Okay, we'll go with the meaning. Having obtained this gain, he does not consider anything superior than that, established in which he cannot be agitated by the heaviest of sorrows. We'll go in depth what this means. But before going in depth, we will have shloka 6.23 covered as well, and we'll discuss them together. Any hands? Anyone for shloka 6.23? Madhuri ji, you want to try? Okay, Pratisha ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Tam vidyad dukha sanyoga viyogam yoga sanhitam Janishchayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thanks, Pratisha ji, for chiming in. Uh, you should know the definition of yoga as that which severs the connection with sorrow. You should engage in yoga with firm conviction and a non-despondent mind. So something which I wanted to highlight here, which we won't miss in future is in 6.22, you look at the word yam and that, and here it is tam, that, which, so it's So it's like the cause and effect. So the yum and thum. So remember these two words. And another thing where we could highlight on the continuity of the shloka is here he says that he cannot be agitated by the heaviest of sorrows. And in the next shloka, Krishna says that it's yoga is something which severes the connection with sorrow. Okay, now let's go ahead and see look at what Sri Krishna is trying to tell us. So the first thing he says is that yam latva, sorry, give me one moment. Yeah, yam latva chaparam labham man, manyate nadikam tataha. So having gained that, uh, which is greater, he knows that this gain is greater than anything else outside. So here and in 2.0 and 2. 6.20 and 6.21, he said that in this state that the yogi, the striver, would have achieved the supreme transcendental bliss. And he says that once the seeker has achieved this bliss, he knows that this is the greatest of bliss, and he would not like to come back to any other bliss. And he knows that this is the greatest bliss, and it is greater than the tamasic joy, of course. In the initial phases wherein people experience the tamasic joy, the joy in sleeping and heedlessness and all. And it is even greater than the tamasic joy is the rajasic joy. So it is the joy which we get from the sense objects and the contact of the senses with the sense of objects. And even greater than rajasic joy is the sattvic joy. Sattvic joy is the initial clarity or the initial placidity that we get when we start meditating on the name of God. And gradually, when we meditate, when we reach that state of samadhi, we reach that state of supreme transcendental bliss. That is even greater than the sattvic joy. So the seeker knows that this is the greatest joy, and having achieved this, he knows that there is nothing greater than this, and nothing else which needs to be achieved. And he does not ascribe any importance to any other joy in the world. The joy of meditation becomes paramount. Next. Why is this joy so paramount, and what are the attributes of this joy? So, the joy which we have discussed, the Rajasic, Tamasic, and the Sattvic joy, it is temporary. We know that, okay, it comes, it's like as though it stays for a moment and the joy goes away again. Specifically for the sense and sense objects, it's like being dependent. As long as the sense objects are there, all those comforts or the luxuries are there, we are fine with it, we are okay. But once they are removed, we start feeling the discomfort, we start feeling the agitation. So these are the joys which are temporary. And these are the joys which are unsatiating as well. And let's say that we are in a role and we are happy about it. We got a promotion, we are happy about it. Now we need the next promotion. We need the next promotion. We need a bigger house. We need a bigger car. So we know that we always want the greater and greater choice. We are never satisfied. Even the satisfaction which remains is temporary unless we start getting pulled into this endless cycle. But whereas the joy, the permanent, and one more thing is the joy from the world. It comes from the outside. It is not something which comes from within. But the joy, which one gets from the samadhi, it is coming from within. It is the soul. It is the connection with the soul. Yoga is the union with the soul, and having achieved that union, it is a true fulfillment and everlasting joy. It is something which is coming from within, and it is not comparable to any worldly joy that we have experienced. Any worldly joy will pale in comparison to this joy. So when one wins a lottery that pays in millions, one does not go seeking pennies. This is it's like a lottery. There's nothing else, and it's not even comparable to our material world. Again, as said, uh, listening from someone who has experienced that joy from the true saints is totally different from listening from me, as I'm only saying what I've read. But when you listen to the one who has experienced the joy, even with their vani, you could feel that joy, and uh, you could have an essence of the or the taste of that joy. Uh, the next part of the shloka. Yes, yasmin sthito na dukkena gurunapi vichalyate. Sri Krishna says that the person who becomes established in this joy of meditation is shielded from the impact of the most troublesome sorrows. Attainment of the joy in meditation does not mean that magically all our sorrows will vanish. Till our human body exists, joy and sorrow will exist as well. But meditation will give us an armor that will protect us from our worldly sorrows. The inner strength provided by meditation will make us shock proof. Having gained the joy of meditation, he does not get agitated by any sorrow whatsoever. Okay, so here I'll open up a bit for discussion. I wanted to share one experience, or maybe I would ask you all also. So, have you faced something wherein you can say that, before I came on the path of bhakti, or before I had this knowledge in my mind, I would not have been able to handle that situation. But now, with this knowledge, I'm able to handle it better. So, Sri Krishna here, he does not say that all your sorrows will vanish or they'll go away, start doing this. But he's saying that we will be able to handle it better. And it is something that which we all would have experienced at some point of time in our life so far. So I'll just leave it for you to share your experiences. Has any? I definitely have some. I'll share mine. Before that, have you all come across such situations which you would like to share with all of us? Okay. Yes, Sandeji.
I mean, I think you can go first, but I mean, I always have some experiences to share. But if there
Okay,
are
I'll
others,
share mine.
yeah, yeah.
It's in my memory because it is very recent. So basically, I met with an injury and my knee was hurt. So initial 1 month of going to recover to recover with rest and all of the things. So 1 month it wasn't recovering, and I had my MRI scan. I went to the doctor and he told you will have to undergo a surgery. It's uh, like this can't be repaired through rest. And having listened to the word surgery, I was almost feeling that nausea. I was feeling that I'm fainting. I was dizziness. So immediately the doctor had to call some help. And I was like,
Is it
to
me
be done.
having
I couldn't sleep.
Shri Ramesh, I think there's some break, network issue.
Yeah, we lost your sound went.
I thought I was having a network problem, so I was silent all this while.
Okay. So I was telling that what that word surgery resulted in my mind and in my heart the kind of fears. And the first thing I did was I think I texted Sandhya. And Sanjay was very calm and she said, don't worry, you're the soul, you're not the body. What's happening to the body? It's not happening to the soul. It was like a hard pinch and a tight slap for a while. And I was like, pain. And then I thought about it again for a while. It's like, yeah. And I even had this moment, and it was not that, it was like I've been on this journey for 2 or 3 years, but it didn't come to me instantly. But the next day I was feeling very calm. And it's like, yeah, surgery. I'll have surgery. I'll be fine after all that. And this body is an instrument to serve God, and He's taking care of it. He's some way He shows a way wherein He's taking better care of it than I do. He has me with all the food and which whatever is required body, and He will take care of it. And the perspective which came when I reminded myself that yeah, I'm the soul and I'm here as a servant of God, and this body is an instrument which God has given me. And that perspective, and the second day it was like as if I was totally a different person from the previous day who went on crying. So it took a while for me. So as Nitinji was also telling that the response and the intensity uh, and I P what was P Sandesh if you could remind me.
FIR. It's the frequency,
F-
intensity, and the response time.
Sorry, I got version of also wrong.
FIR.
So yeah, FIR.
Yeah.
So I took a while, but I was still happy that it was one day and not long, and the intensity reduced. So this was something which helped me. I was like, okay, my situation is the same. I have to go through a surgery, but I'm well equipped with it now. I know that it's minor, it's a keyhole surgery, and I'll be all right after it, and I'll get back to my seva soon. So I could say that the stability that you get with the knowledge scriptures, you'll be able to be better at uh, and anyone else who wants to share.
I think
Sandhya ji has
yours
a
was
hand raised.
yeah. I mean, what you shared was already profound. Mine is like I won't take a lot of time and not like very elaborate on a single experience, but I think what things which would get me stressed and tensed before getting this knowledge have started affecting me differently, I would say, like in the sense that the kind of worries that it would generate in the past, it doesn't now, because there is this little bit of understanding that, first of all, everything is temporary. So, how I'm feeling right now and the situation that I'm experiencing right now may not be the same tomorrow or even few hours down the line. So that really makes me feel ki, okay, let's not react immediately. Let's try and observe what is in my control and what is not in my control. I think we lost Sri Ramya ji for internet connection, but I can just quickly say what actually I think I had this experience of um, uh, in a very unplanned way. My like father had was admitted to ICU, which was like not at all expected. Not we were not prepared for it, and that got me really like if it was me before having this understanding, I think I would have just broken down out of like that uncertainty, fear, stress, and all that. But I think I was talking to Nitinji at that time, and also I was receiving this knowledge. So that had really, really prepared me well. And I was just focusing on what I think that was the first day when I did co-hosting for Bhagavad Gita, and that was the day when uh, that experience was happening in the background. But I think I could remain calm only because of this knowledge and this understanding of that everything that happens with us around us is part of the bigger plan of God, and he is taking care of each one of his child all the time. So we should not we should not be worried. We should just do our duties, having that faith that he's taking care of us all the time. Like he is much more concerned about each one of us and our well-being, our happiness, our upliftment, our evolution than any of us can be. So yeah, that helps me remain better. And I think we have heard these stories of our inspirational saints, like for example Narsi Mehta ji and Kunti Devi ji. They are like at another level, like situations in their family, losing their loved ones. They have always been at a level that everything is arranged by God and it's just taking me closer to God. So I think that's like another level, but we have inspiration all around. So yeah. Yes,
Uh,
Sri Ramya
Sorry,
ji.
Sandhya ji, I lost
No
connection
problem.
and I lost the entire
No, no, that's
conversation.
okay. That's
And
okay.
I'm
We'll
getting
have the
a chance to
recording,
connect with
but
you again and to
yeah, yeah.
know that.
But
So,
we can move on
Pratyusha
with
ji,
Pratusha di.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we can move it on with Pratyusha ji.
Okay, Radhe Radhe. I just want to say that whenever I was when I was introduced to Bhagavad Gita, all these character building, character changing points, starting from you can say truthfulness and like lot of small points in various chapters leading up to Asuric and Devic Sampat Vibhagyo. So all these uh, I was actually looking at what negative things I had. For some reason, I was never focusing on good points, but what to improve. And I became very conscious of those things that I need to improve, and because of which I started working on it, which is what Bhagavad Gita wants us to do. Bhagavad Gita is not just about studying and forgetting, but practically implementing it. So before that realization, when this came, I thought of changing everyone, teaching everyone the Bhagavad Gita. So I went on, starting from my parents, and I got a severe, resistance from them. Like, okay, I'm taking sannyas. That's what they thought. The way I was talking about it and all, with so much passion. But then they saw the changes because I was slowly and steadily. I understood that it is not about changing others; it's more about changing yourself. So when they see the change in you, they will automatically wonder what is it that inspired her to be like this, and they will follow it. And that actually happened. So at the end, all my both in-laws and my parents, they were able to get this knowledge. And initially there was big resistance, but when they saw that, that sincerity, that change, they adapted it. So that's the big thing. If you implement it in your life, you will see that it will affect everyone around. So yeah.
That's very nice, and that's how we are fortunate to have you with us and to get to listen from you. So thank you so much, Pratisha ji. Uh, Anyone else wants to share? If there are no hands, I'll go to the next slide. Yeah, but before this, I something which I wanted to share. If there was one of the translations which I was referring, which said that okay, these are still smaller ones. The great, biggest sorrows, like for example, death or the person nearby being taken away. It's we can't even think of those situations. And Santhya has told that the saints have never waved off from their bhakti. So if you're not in that, if your mind is not controlled or that stable in that bhakti, and when you don't have that perspective, it you totally lose out. But then meditation is an armor for us. And why why is this? Why is it that we are able to handle it better with meditation? And what's changed after meditating or after we start practicing the bhakti? So why is not shaken even by the greatest punishment? The reason is that a yogi is established in the supreme bliss and he has no body consciousness. The harm inflicted on the body does not affect him. He feels pain or affliction only if he identifies himself with the matter. But when he breaks off this affinity, he is established in the supreme bliss of the self. Afflictions or sufferings cannot have any access to him, and so he is not shaken even by the heaviest of sufferings. And this was very well explained. Thanks, Dhruvalji. This was from Sadak Sanjeevani. Uh, he has the intellect is already established for the person who is situated in this, and in the intellect he knows that he's the soul, and he's not the body, he's not the mind. So what he has the strong understanding established that whatever suffering is there, he's the body, and he does not identify with it. So not having the pain is not something what we are talking about. If somebody pinches you or hits you or causes harm physically, it would definitely hurt you. But pain is one thing, and identification of the with the pain is another thing. So what uh, the yogi does here is he does not identify himself with the pain. He knows that it is a pain. It will be there for a while. It will go away. But even in those cases, he identifies himself with the soul, and he's firmly established there. And sometimes when you're firmly established there, you would have that clear vision. You will be able to better handle it. You will be able to see a better way out of it. So he does not identify himself with the pain, but he identifies himself with the soul. And that's the reason why we say that he's armored well, and there is some kind of shock. His shock proof. uh, So this is what Krishna is trying to convey to us here. And meditation gives us the best of both the worlds. It gives us joy, independent of any future sorrow, and also protects us from the impact of heavy sorrow. Uh, this was quite self-explanatory. I will move ahead to the next slide. Okay, so this goes on to the next shloka. Uh, the first part of 6.23. Tam vidya dukkha sanyoga viyoga yoga sannitam. So here with this shloka, Krishna introduces another definition of yoga. So earlier definition, he said that yoga is equanimity in pleasure and pain. So here he introduces a new definition. He says that it is disconnection of union with pain. Interesting. So again, tam vidya dukkha sanyoga. So until this yoga, he says yam, yatra, and all. He uses those words. He says that which leads to the inner joy, which makes him fearless, or which makes him stable, or which makes him not impacted by the sorrow. He says that uh, that is yoga. So he says that. That disconnection with pain is yoga. So as I said, like sorrow has an intimate relationship or connection with our lives. It said that this world, it's Dukhalayam Shashvatam. It is Dukhalaya. It is an ocean of miseries, material miseries. Shashvata. Also, it is temporary. It is not permanent. In some of the scriptures, the saints, that's how they have described this world. But not to get too demotivated with that, Krishna has also shown us a way how to live in this world and be joyful as well when we are situated in the self. So what happens at that point of time is the disconnection with sorrow. So sorrow is always there, and we do get glimpses of happiness, but it is the extent to which the degree of sorrow declines. So I have certainly been there. I've been this person. If one sorrow is not there, there's another sorrow. If this sorrow is not there, there's another sorrow. And it was like a comparison of sorrows at some point of time. It was like, okay, maybe I have a bigger problem to handle, so the smaller problem looks small before it. It was like moving from a problem to problem. But fortunately, I don't have that perspective now. And that connection is termed as dukkha sayoga. So dukkha sayoga is like we are always in sayog is the connection rather along with it. So when we lose this connection with sorrow throughout our, we never lose this connection with sorrow throughout our life. So Sri Krishna says that the yoga of meditation is the only means by which we can sever or separate this connection with sorrow. This is why the yoga is meditation. Here he defines as dukkha sayoga viyoga. Viyoga is that disconnection. You are disconnected from the union of sorrow or the pain. So here, uh, Sri Krishna, he says that through that dhyana, by situating yourself in in the state of the supreme bliss, you have permanently disconnected yourself with the pain or with the sorrow. So in the previous sloka, he explains as that he has become he has shock proof from sorrow. He has an armor and he deals with sorrow better. And here he says that he has obtained a disconnection with the sorrow. So for him, it is always like the joy when he moves on in this journey. And meditation gives us something which we continually seek on the material level as well: freedom from sorrows. Another pros and of meditation. So something which I really wanted to highlight and say that if you have not started meditating, do please do start. Yes, Sandhya, your question here.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I just in on your previous slide, you have given like two definitions of yoga, right? So, like, I was just thinking about it. Like, Krishna is so logical and he just presents the same point in different ways so that somehow it gets like imprinted in our head, right? Like, the very first definition of yoga, or like, I feel like the primary definition is union with God, right? and God
Yeah.
is equal to happiness. There is no difference between these two words. So once you are united with happiness, you are automatically disconnected with sorrows of any kind, right? So that's like just logical. It just,
Yeah.
so I was just thinking about it, like he presents the same point in different ways so that somehow we get to understand that, that is the only way for us to go forward. So yeah, I just
True.
wanted to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, and one I was listening to the Bhagavad Gita classes, and I was like, this was already covered. Why is Nitinji saying it again and again? Then it's like, okay, why Krishna is saying it again and again? Then I understood that okay, he wants this point to be well established with it, and even better when we go across the chapters. Like we are in 6 chapters now, and when the connection gets established, and now we understand that oh, that's why Krishna was telling. He was emphasizing so much on it. This is why he was trying to explain that point from all angles, and this that led to this place, and the flow between the chapters is also so beautiful. So I've tried to capture a bit of that flow in the next slide here. So thank you, Sandhya ji, for that perspective. uh, and going to the next slide. So this was the second half of the second shloka we covered today, that's 6.23. Sa nischayena yoktvayo yogo nirvinna chetasaha. So here he says something that he has not said anywhere else in Gita. He says that we must have a firm determination to attain the state of yoga. So he asks us to pursue it without getting deterred away by the smaller obstacles. He says that the state of perfected meditator is the goal that we should aim towards. And he says that we should not become despondent or hopeless in this path. And Nishchayena is firmly, and you have to firmly pursue this path. So, and why is he emphasizing so much on this? He knows that this goal is not easy. It takes a long time, and we will encounter obstacles in the way, and we will feel demotivated, and sometimes we are just sitting in meditation and we think that nothing is happening. So I still face that. At sometimes it's like yes, I'm able to focus on only on the name, and at sometimes I was like yeah, I have all sort of distractions, and at some point I feel that yeah, nothing is happening. At some point of times I feel a little bit of happiness. It's like yeah, I'm feeling better, I'm feeling more calm. So he knows all these states. So Krishna knows all the states, and he said that we will feel obstacles, and we should not demotivate us, or it should not make us despondent or frustrated. So he says that we should not let the mind become despondent. And each time we encounter an obstacle that pushes off the path of the meditation, we get up and continue again and again. So what are these obstacles, and how should we able to get over these obstacles? So stay tuned that this shloka 6.24, 6.25, the coming shlokas, Krishna speaks about what the obstacles are and how to overcome that. And yeah, so he says that as striver, he should not feel despondent and distracted in attaining that yoga in spite of obstacles and afflictions. So we need to go step by step here. We cannot, suddenly jump across. And one thing which I wanted to point out in the previous slide also, uh, he says that uh, Mm, he uses the word gradually. I missed that slide, but I wanted to tell that again. It's not something. He says that he gradually detaches himself with the worldly pleasures, and I missed to emphasize that. But I wanted to say that even that detaching from the worldly pleasures, for some it may happen all of a sudden, but it depends on the previous sanskars. Otherwise, the process is gradual and step by step. Uh, so it's like how a parent guides a child to get a degree. So first, the parent guides him through the school with the basic knowledge, with the basic maths, 2 plus 2 equal to 4, and all of the things. And then the child goes to high school and then gets to college. Then it's like a bit of a higher knowledge that he gets. And then the parent supports him as he gets his graduate degree. So in each part of the curriculum, if it is followed step by step, then we can see that the degree is attained easily. If you take the child and put him directly in a 4-year degree thing, then we know that, okay, he's going to fail. But there is a process here which the child follows. And by following this process, it is easy to attain the degree. So similarly, Krishna is also hand holding us to get the supreme bliss. In the first chapter, he introduced us to the eternal essence. he introduces us to the eternal essence in the second chapter. In the third chapter, he explains the method of giving up the sense of mind through karma yoga. In the fourth and fifth chapters, he explains the method of giving up the sense of doership. I am the doer through the karma sannyasa yoga. And in the sixth chapter, in this, he's explaining that when the sense of I and mine is given up, our mind is ready to get established in the understanding that the eternal essence is our own self through meditation. And one more thing is, even when you start the process of meditation, when you're meditating on yourself, for the person who has the knowledge, who has read in scriptures that about the eternal essence, and when he meditates after that, the effect is different when someone starts meditating just like that. So Krishna, he has given us the process here. First, he has explained us about the self. In the second chapter, he has explained about the soul, that which cannot be destroyed, or water. It cannot be wet through water. It cannot be dried up. It cannot be cut through pieces through weapons. He introduces the concept of the soul. He introduces the concept of the eternal essence, and then he says that don't give up thinking that you're the soul, you're not the body. You're still have the obligation to your duties, but then you're not entitled for the results. And then he explains us beautifully karma yoga, and so that we don't get confused again, he says that karma sannyasa yoga is like what you're supposed to give up is the doership, not your duty. And with all of this in mind, and this is when your meditation, when you meditate, and that starts giving a better aspect. You know that okay, you're the soul, and when you're meditating it, you start focusing on your center, and that's the state which Pratishaji has explained so briefly, so detailedly in the last two classes, the samadhi and all. So Krishna also, there's a reason why he has organized why he has given it in this way, or why the Bhagavad Gita the chapters are organized in this way. It's a step-by-step process, and we follow this, we will attain the results for sure. So we are not supposed to feel despondent or feel distracted. So if you were a child and you were told that you have to complete this degree, maybe you would have told that, how could I do that? Now we are all in a state where we have done that, and we should, we can be assured that yeah, we follow Krishna's instructions, will surely be there. So what are the obstacles? How do we deal with it? So it's coming in the next chapter. So stay tuned. And finally, to summarize, from 6.20 to 6.23 completely, all the four shlokas. When the mind rests restrained by the practice of yoga, and where the self, seeing the self, see the difference, the small s and the capital S, the Atman and the Paramatman. The self, seeing the self, is delighted in the self, and where established, the yogi knows that bliss which transcends the senses is understandable by the purified intellect only, and from the experience of self does not even move, possessing which he does not think any other gain is greater than that, in which established he is not shaken even by great sorrow. That that should be known by the term yoga, and that yoga, which is free from sorrow, should be attained by the undesponding and determined mind. So I hope this makes sense now. The first time I read it, I was lost. Then I was like, okay, I have to put it at the end, and this makes better sense now. So this is from Vivek Vani, by the way, these statements. So that's it from my side today. Thank you so much. I'll open up for questions, if any, or any discussions, if any, and then the sweetest part, Bhaktcharit, you're on. So I'll stop sharing. Thanks a lot, all of you.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much. And by the time you were just finishing this last conclusion part, you were reading those lines, name of one saint just immediately came in front of my, I don't know, head, eyes, whatever you want to say. It was Premanandji. Like, disconnected from sorrow when you're connected, like, or any kind of pains. We know that he has that kidney thing, right? But that doesn't impact him. He wakes up at 2:30 a.m. every day and starts his service towards the Lord in various ways, right? Like, we have so much inspiration around. And we
Yeah.
had, I think, one question, right, that Madhuri ji had asked. Do we want to take it up quickly right now before I move on to Bhakcharit?
Yeah, that was for Pratyusha ji.
Did you hear? Oh, Pratisha ji,
Wha-
maybe you
Pratyusha
joined
ji
a
was
little
not
late.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What was the question?
Yeah,
Hi, yeah, Pratyusha. Hi, I'm
Radhe Radhe.
Madhuri.
Okay,
Yeah,
hi.
hi. Yeah, last week when you are telling my son heard and he's asking about Kali. What is that Kali? He
Hmm.
was been asking all the week like what is Kali? I said like yeah, Pratishan will tell this week maybe. I thought yeah, I don't know what to tell him because I don't know
Okay,
much.
so
So in
okay,
simple
so
words, just to understand for him,
yeah,
he is also
so
listening
just
now.
he's small, right? He's 3, right?
Yeah. What? Yeah,
So
that's why I don't know what.
so tell him if he knows what is good and bad,
Mm.
something that he does not like, that is Kali, and any action he does more that he does not like, then that is Kali acting, and everything that is good is Bhagwan. So we need that goodness, and we don't need the Kali, affecting us. So you can say like that. And when
Okay.
people grow up, and we become grown up, the more whatever we do more becomes big in us. So if we want nice things to come to us, candies and chocolates and all the rewards, we should do the good action.
Okay. Yeah.
A mother
Yeah.
speaking to a
Thank you.
mother. Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. This was
Yeah.
helpful
Thank
for
you.
us as well. So with that, I think I'll move on to Bhakcharit. But before that, so there was one Bhakcharit that we shared in the group. It was Ravi Das ji. Uh, Anybody read it? No, no one. Anyone read it? You can raise your hands. No, nobody. Okay, anybody knows about Ravi Das ji? I know Dhruvil only shared that with me, so he definitely does. So I can probably just share one statement which is probably popular. I had heard it earlier as well. Man changa te kathauti mein Ganga. Have any of you heard? Okay, Shri Ramya ji is nodding her head. So that is actually Ravi Das ji. It was his purity, dedication, and sincerity towards devotion, with which he could actually bring in the purity of river Ganges and actual river Ganges in his own, at his home, in his own hands, right? I mean, in his own pot that was at his home. So that was also mentioned in that write up. If you get time, do read that. You'll really get inspired. And I'll now move to today's Bhakcharit. Uh, okay, let's get going. So this is the story of Kubaji. He was dearly known as Kubaji, and his guru gave him the name Keval Ramji. And we are going to learn the glory of chanting the holy name. So, uh, so I just said that Kubaji was named Keval Ram, and his profession was a potter. So he used to make pots, the mud pots. And while doing his profession, he also started attending spiritual discourses. So satsang, he got introduced to satsang. He started attending satsang. In fact, if some of you remember, last time what we discussed was also power of satsang. How a thief who wanted to rob Krishna uh, became so determined to do so through a satsang, right? Okay.
Govardhan.
So yeah,
Govardhan. Govardhan.
yeah, Govardhan, exactly. You remember it. Awesome. Bang on. So yeah, so spiritual discourses by Sri Krishnadas Paya Hariji, and he got a guru. So, that's the first stage. So he got a guru. And through that association, he understood the importance of serving the saints. So that became kind of his one of his primary goal in life, that he would never miss an opportunity to serve the saints. And I think what was cherry on the cake was that he and his wife were both following this together. So that was, I think, a great blessing. And so, what he would do is, whatever he needs to do for earning his daily bread, he would do that, but minimal stuff. Like, he would only make one pot a day. He'll get enough money to feed himself and his wife, as well as attend to all the saints who would visit him at his home, which was, one of the goals that he had taken up. So this was also, I think, something impressive to me. He deliberately avoided excessive business and worldly activities, believing that they would distract his mind from devotion and spiritual practice. Because, in terms of material gains, for most of us, there is no end to it, right? But what is necessary and what is it that we keep chasing just as being part of the society? It's important to, I think, establish that distinction. So what happened once? Many more saints arrived at his doorstep, and he did not have resources to feed them all. But because he had taken this resolve that he wanted to feed the saints and never send them empty-handed or empty stomach, he decided to take a loan. uh, and he approached various people. None of the people wanted to give him loan, given they knew his situation, right? So, but finally he came across this money lender, um, and he kind of agreed, but he wanted to get something in return. So what he said, that I will give you the money, but you need to do a task for me. And so the task was to dig a well. And Kubaji was like, for sure, I will dig a well, but just give me the resources so I can feed the saints. So that's what happened. Um, so they got the resources. Then they finally started digging up the well, and that is when the biggest thing comes, which is the chanting, power of chanting. So Kubaji and his wife were constantly chanting Siya Ram while they were digging the well. And this was also something that I really liked. It was like while they were digging the well, they were continuously chanting, and they were in fact communicating with each other with chanting. They were not uttering a single word, they were just saying Siya Ram. And that's how they were communicating with each other, that okay, it's the time for you to pick up the soil. I have dug this much and all that. So that was so special, right? That they did not even need today's language. They could just do the service and continue doing the chanting. So that's kept happening, and they kept on proceeding further. But then came an unexpected tragedy. So while they had digged the well deep and they were about to reach the water, um, soil became loose and started shifting, and upper hillside kind of fell over, and everything became soil, and Kubaji ended up getting buried inside the soil. So there was no way he could be seen. So everybody just thought that he is no more, the kind of tragedy that happened. And the wife's attitude, because she was a devotee, it was that she was calm. So, we just heard this Bhagavad Gita shloka, detaching from sorrow. I think this is an example of that, right? Like this was the biggest sorrow she could have experienced as a, like, the closest person, no more with you. But she accepted it as a will of God, and probably a prarabdh, which is result of past karma, and she was calm and just, silent. So this happened, but we don't know what is awaiting next, right? So a miracle happened after 1 month. So there was this king. Um, so people started hearing loud Siya Ram coming from somewhere. They did not know, but around this area where he kind of got buried, right? So this sound was filled with deep spiritual energy, and at that very moment, a king happened to pass by. And then there was crowd gathered hearing this sound. So the king inquired about the matter. And when people said that there was this past incident 1 month back that happened here, so king immediately ordered excavation. And people were doubting how can anyone survive? It's been a month. Even if he did not survive then, I mean, even if he survived then, he might have not survived by now. But the chanting was clear and loud. So they began digging and they discovered that there was a cave kind of thing that was formed there. And look at this picture. So basically, the soil had kind of stopped just above his head, and some kind of a protective cave was formed there. He had received food and water as well over there somehow. So this is what miracle was. And he was only focused on doing his meditation, yoga, Siyaram chanting, whatever you want to call it, right? So people were stunned. He was sitting peacefully in a meditative posture, loudly chanting Siyaram, Siyaram, and beside him was a beautiful vessel filled with food and water. Now the question arose, how did food and water reach him? So I don't know if we have an answer to it, but where did it come from? Like Krishna, like God does not let even an ant sleep hungry at the end of the day. So yeah, so imagine if someone gets stuck in an elevator when the power goes out, they feel anxious. Yet this devotee had been inside a deep well for a month, not just surviving, but remaining blissfully absorbed in chanting. This was the power of chanting the holy name. Keval Ramji had no fear, no distress, only divine ecstasy. So those who sincerely chant the Lord's name are directly cared for by the Lord Himself. And when the excavation was complete, everyone saw that Keval Ramji was completely unharmed, except for a minor injury on his back. He had been in the well for an entire month, yet he remained nourished with food and water. So soon, people from the town and nearby villages gathered with great reverence. It was astonishing that after so long he was still alive, absorbed in devotional chanting. People bowed before him with deep faith and devotion. This was divine grace. So that's how the water and food came, divine grace. This was the glory of chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So the power of chanting the Lord's name is immeasurable. It was the unwavering faith that Keval Ramji had and the devotion that saved him from the jaws of death. And this incident also stands as a testament to the boundless glory of the Lord's name. So be it Siyaram, be it Radha, be it Radhesham, whatever we want to say, the importance is to get immersed in it and make it nirantar. That should be our goal, that it should be continuous. So I, yeah, I think that's the end of it. So I'll stop sharing. And it is 10:02 p.m. So I think we are kind of uh okay. I think I agree with you, Pratushadi, on what we heard from Shri Ramya ji today. It was really, really nice. I loved it. And so, and those of us who have still not read about Ravidas ji, you will have two write-ups to read about in the coming week, Ravidas ji as well as Puba ji. So stay tuned. There's more coming next week. And yeah, that's it, I think, from me. And thank you, Shri Ramya ji, once again. Thank you, everyone who have kept your videos on. And with that, I think we'll.
Thank you,
I mean,
all.
not just to all those who have kept their videos on. Special thanks to those who have kept videos on, but thanks to everyone. Okay, with that, yeah. Radhe Radhe. Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Radha.
all. Radhe Radhe.